From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie B.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Friday, October the 22nd, 2021. One day away from the Ticats hosting the Ottawa Redblacks at Tim Hortons Field in a game you'll be able to hear right here on the Ticats Audio Network. Andy Fantuz and I will get you set with Tiger Cats pregame presented by Active Green and Ross starting at 3 o'clock. And we'll hand it over to RJ and Luke, who will have the call of the game. Speaking of RJ and Luke, brand new episode of Ticats this week just dropped on the Ticats Audio Network, so go check that out wherever you found this podcast, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of this show or any other great offerings we have for you on the Ticats Audio Network. Coming up, we're going to hear from Coach O, as we do every day, as he spoke after the Ticats walkthrough. We'll hear from David Izinyon as well, as he will make his CFL debut, a 2021 global draft pick. So we'll hear what he has to say. We'll be joined by the CFL on TSN's Matthew Scianitti. But right now, let's take a look at the Hamilton Tiger Cats depth chart, how they'll line up tomorrow against the Ottawa Redblacks. And we'll start on the offensive line because Travis Vorncall is starting at left tackle, and this will be his first career pro start, first career CFL start. So Travis Vorncall in for Jordan Murray, who was on the 6-game injured list. Also in the offensive line, you got Brandon Revenberg at left guard, Darius Sirocco at center, Coulter Woodmansey at right guard, and Chris Van Zyl at right tackle. One note on Darius Sirocco, he is a game-time decision heading into this game against Ottawa, so keep that in mind. You got Yarbrough backing him up. Receivers, you got Dunbar Jr. and Brandon Banks, both out wide. Jalen Acklin, Braylon Addison, and Tim White lined up at slot. Up the middle, Jeremiah Masoli handling the quarterback duties, backed up by Dane Evans. And at running back, you have Thomas Erlington, Jackson Bennett, Malik Irons, and Don Jackson. Sean Thomas Erlington is a game-time decision. Nikola Kalinic lined up at fullback. Taking a look at defense up front, no changes. Really across the defense, no changes. Jared Davis, Ted Laurent, Dylan Wynn, Julian Househair up front. Up the middle at the linebackers, you got Simone Lawrence, Jovan Santos Knox, Cameron Kelly. And then in the secondary, from left to right, Desmond Lawrence, Cariel Brooks, Tunde Adeleke, Ciante Evans, and Jamal Roll. A couple other notes to point out to you on this depth chart. One, you got Lorenzo Malden IV coming back for the first time since Game 1. He was injured against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back in Week 1. He is back in the lineup, backing up the defensive lineman. We mentioned David Izinyon. He is making his CFL debut. He was a third-round draft pick in the 2021 CFL Global Draft. We're going to hear from him in just a second. And I will mention on special teams, no changes. One change if you consider the kick returner, punt returner situation. Brandon Banks back there handling that. Taylor Bertolet handling the kicking duties. Joel Whitford handling the punting duties. And Gordon White, the long snapper. So that's how the Ticats will line up against the Ottawa Redblacks. For more, let's hear from the head coach of the Ticats. That is Orlondo Steinauer. Here's what he had to say after walkthrough today.
It'll be a game-time decision on Darius, strictly on how he's feeling. He is feeling a lot better. Right. But today is not a tell-all day because it's just a walkthrough and meeting. So we'll be prepared either way, but I anticipate that he will go. But again, it will be a game time thing. Well, when it comes to Nick, outside of what you see in the statistics, I think he's done a great job outside of the tackles that he's made. Right, he's made great strides. He's made impacts in games. He's even drawn some double teams at times because of his impact, which has enabled other people to make plays. So, I'm just proud of the way that he's worked and just glad to have him back out on the field. He should help us. And as far as Lorenzo, he's had a couple of tough breaks injury-wise. It's been a while since he's been on the field. There's been a couple of times where we anticipated him coming back, and it just didn't work out. So, again, another guy that has the potential to make some impact, but, we got to play the game and see how it plays out. Just a guy who's come to work and worked hard, just tried to absorb whatever he could. We gave him some thankless tasks way back in training camp where, he was even taking some reps D tackle. We were kind of banged up and he's just a tough kid that we all want to get everybody in at some point, and you just never know if it's going to happen. So he's going to get his opportunity this week. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for our team.
That is the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats, Orlondo Steinauer, as he spoke after walkthrough, talking about Darius Sirocco, a game-time decision. We mentioned Sean Thomas Erlington, also a game-time decision for the Ticats, talking about the return of Lorenzo Malden and Nick Cross. And then there at the end, talking about the CFL debut of David Izinyon. He was selected in the third round of the 2021 Global Draft. He originally came to the CFL. He was in the CFL Combine way back in January of 2020. There was no 2020 Global Draft. He had to wait until 2021. The Ticats took him, and now he's had to wait to make his CFL debut, but he will be in the lineup tomorrow when they host the Redblacks, and we had a chance to catch up with him after walkthrough. And we started off by just kind of asking when he found out and his reaction to the news of making his CFL debut for the Ticats tomorrow.
Man, I found out yesterday evening when I got home, and to be honest, it still feels like a dream. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm over the moon right now. I'm on top of the world. I'm just so excited to help the guys out tomorrow. So they're strong guys. They're physical guys. They want to get downfield. They have to win by any means necessary. So we just have to come and show up with our A game, I believe. And I think we've been training all week for that. The coaches has helped us, giving us the right tools to be able to use in this game. I hope so. I hope so. Any way I can to help reach out to the kids to influence them and show them more about the sports. I hope I can, and I'll do anything I can really to help them when I get back as well. So. I watched a lot of shows about it before I got into university because when I was younger, it wasn't really as known as it is now in the UK. So the only level that when I was younger was started at university. So when I was like 18, and then when I got in there, it was either rugby or American football because I played rugby my whole life. And then when I got to put the pads on and the helmet and the hitting started, I was like, yeah, I don't think I could play rugby again after this. Like I fell in love with it from that moment on. And from there, I've just been progressing every day.
That is David Izinyon as we caught up with him after walkthrough today. A reminder, you can catch the full scrums over at ticats.ca, where you can hear everything Coach had to say today, everything David had to say today, and a interview with Tunde Adeleke. Make that Tunde Adeleke. Again, that's up at ticats.ca. All right, let's shift gears. Very pleased now to be joined by the CFL on TSN's Matthew Scianitti, who will have one of the best seats in the house for tomorrow's game between the benches on the CFL and TSN broadcast. And Matthew, I saw you reporting about this earlier this week, the status of Brandon Banks. We know he's in the lineup, and the team said basically he's as healthy as he's going to be. Your interpretation of what that means heading into this game?
Well, I think it means when you have rib injuries in the middle of the football season, and it is a contact sport, means when you get hit, it doesn't matter how healthy you think your ribs are, it's going to hurt. So I was keeping a keen eye on Brandon when he played against Montreal earlier this month, and he appeared to be wearing a flax jacket, which Louie, is very, very, very light, extra protection that goes underneath the player's pads, allows for full mobility, but it's just a little bit extra protection under there. I do remember Brandon coming off the sidelines after he got hit against the Argos, looking at me and saying, at 33, this blank hurts. Which is a pretty obvious statement given the wars that Brandon Banks has been involved in his time in the CFL and in the NFL. But certainly him coming back is a great plus for the Ticats and their offense. And to be honest, speaking to Jeremiah Masoli this week, there is no doubt to have, however healthy he is, an effective Brandon Banks is huge for the Ticats offense.
To that point, Jeremiah Masoli's coming off a game where he threw 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles, protected the football. He's also, for the first time this season, playing with his top 2 targets for sure in Brandon Banks, who he's thrown more touchdowns than any other player in his career, Braylon Addison, Jalen Acklin. I mean, this is the healthiest this Ticats receiving group has been. How big of an impact is that for Masoli and having this full week of practice after a bye week to really find that chemistry with him and some of the other guys with less experience?
I think it's key because it will help Jeremiah come back to something familiar. You know, before his knee injury in 2019, and even afterwards with Dane Evans, but particularly with Jeremiah, the way the offense was operating, we talk about Hamilton being or having challenges closing out games. There were no challenges in 2019 because they were steamrolling teams. And I think for Jeremiah, and I asked him this yesterday, because he is so calm and composed and even keel when he's coming off the sidelines, irrespective of what had just happened on the field. This season, he's coming off the sidelines, and I can see frustration. I can see, there's these gestures, the moments he'll just be shaking his head. He'll mutter something to himself. And I asked him about it, and obviously it's nothing against Tim White, Poppy White, Ungerer, or even Jalen Acklin, or Dunbar. It's something that I think Masoli looks at it himself because he knows how well he can play within Tommy Condell's offense. But to have both Braylon Addison and Brandon Banks back will be so key for him to find a comfort level. And it's hard not to go ahead and feel bad for Jeremiah because he works so hard. He, as you say, the details, protecting the football, being efficient are so important to him. And, you know, as the outside reporter, you often have to ask the questions, how much confidence do you have? These gotcha leading questions. And this week I drew the short straw and I asked Orlondo Steinauer in our production meetings, hey, how much confidence do you have in Jeremiah Masoli? And before I got the words out of my mouth, he said, I have complete confidence in Jeremiah Masoli. And I think that's where it all starts. And then to add both Brandon Banks and Braylon Addison into the equation, and as you said, a full week of practice to get on the same page, hopefully that's huge for Jeremiah Masoli.
Well, I'm the internal reporter here for the Ticats, and I got to come on, man, when I asked about the confidence in David Watford. So that's a little bit better of an answer that he gave you. Let's talk about this game because, I mean, for the Ticats, they're not going to say it. This is as close to a must-win game. First of all, if they want to keep pace in the East, regardless of what happens tonight, this is pretty much as close to a must-win game as the Ticats will face right now, like up until this point, isn't it?
I would say the next 3 weeks will define Hamilton's regular season. Right now, they are tied with the BC Lions, who are now on the tail of the Ticats, no pun intended, to get that crossover spot. Right now, if you look at it, and they still have to kick the ball off, as Orlondo Steinauer says, they line up, and whomever is ready to play has to play. They will play Ottawa, then they will play Edmonton, and then they will play Toronto. If Hamilton wants to get back into contention first, to get back into securing a playoff spot and then a home playoff spot and still put pressure on the Argos to host the East Final, they have to win the next 3 games. And I know it's a tall ask, and I know it's a tall order, but these next 3 games are going to be crucial to see where Hamilton is in its development. This team has the confidence, it has the leadership, it has all the ability, it has so on and so on and so on. But the last 2 games, and I think that's the thing that hurts Ticat fans the most, and I know it burns them inside the locker room, as you do as well, Louie. Those were 2 winnable games. Those are 2 games that if Hamilton wins them, we are talking about a 7-win team that is probably a win or 2 away from securing a home playoff game at the very least. But those are the margins in football. And this, you have to start against Ottawa. Even though they are the last place team in the East, they will be coming out, especially with Mike Benevides' defense and guys like Micah Awe and Avery Williams. They will be coming to look to disrupt Hamilton and hurt them. So this is not going to be an easy game. But when you take a look at the next 3 weeks, it starts with a win against Ottawa, but it only builds from there.
So we talked about Masoli. We talked about how important this game. So I want to wrap up here with, I get the sense, and people have asked me this, and I think there is, like you said, there's full unequivocal confidence in Jeremiah Masoli. That being said, if the Ticats go down early in this game, do you see a likelihood where we do see a Dane Evans? Because I just have to think, like you said, for this game, the margins are so small that if Jeremiah doesn't come out and fire strikes, there are going to be people calling for it. So I'm just asking the question. Do you think there is a chance that if it's a slow starting game, we do see Dane Evans in there?
Yes. And I say that because in the same breath that Orlondo Steinauer says, I have complete faith in Jeremiah Masoli, he also did explain that I have to, situations may dictate things. Now, I don't necessarily think that he was saying, I've got a short leash on Jeremiah. No, Orlando is not that impulsive. Coach Steinauer takes a look at the situations. He will be in constant communication with Tommy Condell, the offensive coordinator, and they will be assessing where Jeremiah is, not series to series, but if the game is close and the margins are there, and as you say, Jeremiah is not throwing strikes. Because the one thing is very obvious with Jeremiah Masoli. When he is confident, I have heard this said again and again and again. When Jeremiah Masoli is in a rhythm and he is confident, he might be the best quarterback in the Canadian Football League. There isn't, like, when we have seen it, he will string 5, 10, 15, 20 completions together and have no problem with it. I mean, you hate to say that there is that much pressure on a guy who throughout the season, it really hasn't been his fault that they've lost games, but that is the margins we're dealing with. And as I said this, and I think this is key, the signage is going to start going up in Hamilton. The temporary stands will start going up. The sign is already on Main Street. How many days before the Grey Cup? And it's maybe it's me making this judgment, but the fact is this: that the Grey Cup game is coming to Hamilton, and it's around 50 days away. That pressure, doesn't matter who tells you whatever they're going to tell you within that locker room, it's there. So it's unfortunate that Jeremiah Masoli has had to kind of deal with coming back from major knee injury and then dealing with questions about his relationship with Dane Evans, even though it is spectacular, and whether or not he's feeling any kind of conflicts within this offense, and then dealing with the injuries to Brandon Banks and Braylon Addison. Nothing has gone his way as much as he would like it to. But the fact is, as I said, as Orlondo Steinauer always says, they're going to kick the ball off on Saturday. He better be ready.
Temperature tomorrow, calling for a chance of rain, 10 degrees. Do we see the return of the Inspector Gadget jacket?
That jacket has been retired, and it's not coming back. It's not coming back. But will you see me in an umbrella tomorrow? Absolutely not. I will not. We will be dealing with the elements, Louie. We will be out there, because I can tell you this: if I had an umbrella, knowing my beloved reputation in Hamilton, I don't want 20,000+ people screaming at me to take my umbrella off. So I will stick it out in the elements like all the good people in Eastern Hamilton.
Well, it cannot be worse than the weather in Ottawa the first time these two teams played each other. Matthew, thanks for doing this. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Take care, buddy.
All right, my thanks to Matthew Scianitti for joining me today, and my thanks to you for tuning in. We are back tomorrow for Tiger Cats pregame. Andy Fantuz and I will have the pregame beginning at 3 o'clock. Tiger Cats pregame presented by Active Green and Ross. We'll hand it over to RJ and Luke, and be sure to join us for Tiger Cats at the half and Tiger Cats postgame. Thanks so much for tuning in all week. Really do appreciate it. For the Ticats Audio Network, I'm Louie B. Hoping you have a great day.
Ticats Today with Louie B. Subscribe, like, and get your Ticats fix every weekday.